Better than a Ferrari, don't you think? This is our Ferrari killer right here. This red car. We brought it over from the tent just to have one car for everybody to kind of be able to see and walk around. Our tent is over here where we have something like 30 folks from the Corvette team who worked on putting this car on the street. In total, there's probably over 1,000 people at General Motors who have had some role in putting this car on the street, and beyond that, all our suppliers and their suppliers, probably 10,000 people. So it's a huge army of people that really have been working for years to bring this car to you. And we've been on a mission, honestly, for quite a long time to do this, and it's been a really enormous challenge to do everything we wanted the car to do. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to walk around, talk about some of the content on the car, talk about some of the technical features of the car. But I want to introduce my co-presenters here. Everybody knows Harlan. Harlan, raise your hand. So for people who are new to Harlan, he's our product manager for marketing. So he does a lot of the definition of what the car wants to be. So all the optional content, a lot of the features that the car will have on it. He knows Corvette's history like crazy. He comes to all these events. He knows thousands of customers by name. He knows what they do. He knows what they like in their car. And he brings a lot of that perspective to the whole team. So we would not have this car, and the history will be told eventually, we would not have this car without Harlan. And so he's going to be talking here shortly. My other co-presenter is Joshua Holder. Josh is our program engineering manager. For many years I worked for Dave Hill in a similar role, kind of an assistant chief engineer job. Josh has had that job for quite a long time. He was the guy from Michigan who had to go down to Bowling Green and launch the 7th generation car. So I know many of you folks appreciate what we did for the 7th generation car. You wouldn't have that car if it wasn't for Josh, and you wouldn't have this car if it wasn't for Josh also. Huge contributor in getting this car on the street. So, thank you. So we have 14 cars here, but that doesn't mean cars are rolling off the assembly line. I want to give you a little bit of perspective that these are all EXIN. If you look at the vehicle identification number, you'll see the letters E and X after that. That stands for experimental. So these are cars built actually before we start the production run. So even our early captured test fleet cars, the cars that we drive for months before we actually produce and ship cars for customers, we don't even have those yet. Those will be saleable cars. They'll have saleable VINs on them. We'll drive them. Then they'll be sold at auction to dealers a year later. So we haven't even received those cars. So these are actually pre that. So people are thinking, oh, the car's in production, we got all these cars here. We still have a ways to go. We have to do some additional test work, some final tweaking on the calibrations. That's one really nice thing about modern cars, is that they're very changeable with software and calibrations. And our new electrical system lets us do over-the-air downloads, and so we can actually cause cars to be better on the fly without bringing them in. So a lot of little fine-tuning still left to do to make sure the car is perfect when we finally do start production. So this car that you see here, as I said, we've been working on this very many years. This is actually a Z51 car. Harlan will talk more about the content on the car. But we've had a great desire to improve the performance envelope for the car, but also keep everything that people have appreciated and we have grown to appreciate all the way from the 4th generation, 5th generation, 6th generation, and 7th generation, all the things that were really good about a Corvette and how it fits into your individual lifestyles. We wanted to keep all that. So we really wanted to make sure the car was easy to live with. So the car wasn't, you know, a very specific thing, maybe only good for the racetrack. We wanted to make sure the car was really good as a daily driver. We wanted to make sure the car could be used, as many of our customers do, for long-distance touring, going to shows, go traveling with clubs, bring enough stuff to be comfortable on a cross-country trip. And then we also wanted to be a track weapon like no other Corvette has ever been before. So combining all of those things into one car has been our magic formula that we've been trying to seek for a long time. For years, people asked me, when are you going to go mid-engine? And my answer was always, it's going to go mid-engine when we can make everything about the car better than the previous cars. And figuring out that formula has been a mission for the Corvette team for many years. And we think we finally have it here. We did a lot of lessons learned on the 6th generation and the 7th generation. For 7th generation, we cut our teeth on aluminum structures. So how do you do a very lightweight, open-air aluminum structure built in Bowling Green? That's a technology that really requires a lot of refinement, a lot of technology, and so we had to learn to do that. We did learn to do that on C7, took all those lessons, baked it into the aluminum structure in this car. We knew we'd have big challenges around managing the airflow, so getting the low drag, great downforce, great cooling, all the things that you have to do, package all the coolers in a completely different place because of the way we wanted to make the car fit into people's lives. So what does that mean? It means that we had to have decent luggage room, and we've talked about it. You've got room in the back for both a removable roof, which we weren't going to give that up. We didn't want to have a car that you could take the roof off and not be able to carry it with you. Didn't want you to have to leave it in the garage. If you go someplace, decide to take the roof off, you want to have a place to put it, so we had to figure out a way to have a good sized removable roof and have it fit in the back of the car, so that was a big challenge for us. And then we knew we could take advantage, like most mid-engine cars, of a front compartment. So we wanted to have that and also have the back, so 2 luggage compartments. Together, if you look at our published specifications, it looks like the luggage capacity is down a little bit. That's mainly because of the way we measure it. You have to measure it by putting rigid blocks inside the luggage compartments. If you could fill them up with water, it would hold the same amount of water between a 7th generation car and an 8th generation car. But because of the shape of the 2 compartments, you can't fit as many blocks in. So it looks like it's down a little bit, but if you're traveling with soft luggage or anything like that, you can pack just as much in. In fact, at the reveal, we told everybody that the custom luggage that we designed to fill up the back of the 7th generation car also fits in this car. So that's kind of a unique formula in the automotive world. So for $60,000, you get a car with all the performance this has. We talked about 0 to 60 under 3 seconds. You've got a standard removable roof. You've got all of this luggage room. And so we think we've hit upon a formula that gets a lot of those attributes. And we haven't even disclosed all the performance attributes yet. So we just kind of teased a few of them out. We just announced top speed 194 miles an hour. That's also a function of the aerodynamics of this car, the stability of the car, and speed. You wouldn't predict based on the horsepower increase that it would go 194. It's actually the aero stability that lets it go that fast. So very slick in its standard configuration. So I've been droning on about the architecture. I'd like to talk a little bit about more specifics around the car, some of the optional content, the ways that we're letting people customize it, because we know if you walk around this fairgrounds, you'll see everybody is doing something different. Everybody wants their car to be unique, reflect their own character, be their personal dream car, and we understand that, so we really want to make sure that you guys can configure it in as many custom ways as possible. So I'll let Harlan come up and talk a little bit about that.
All right, thanks. And like Tad says, we have announced the pricing under $60,000, including destination. And that was one of the things that we really focused on when we talked to people about going mid-engine. Everybody assumed, well, you're going to do a $250,000 car. And we wanted to be affordable. But then everybody's asking, well, why is it so inexpensive? And I would say, well, we're smart, we're Americans. And then also I would say, why don't you ask our friends from Germany and Italy why their cars are so damn expensive? But one of the things we really wanted to do also, we thought this was a real opportunity to not only give you your dream car. I talked to a lot of you who said, we've been promised this mid-engine Corvette my whole life. I've been waiting for it to come out, and now it's finally here. And that's really a dream for us to bring it to you. But the other thing that we're going to be able to do is really get a whole new generation. We're seeing this happen. A whole new generation of Corvette enthusiasts that are having their Corvette moment. Now, everybody I talk to says they have a moment where they saw a Corvette when they were younger, and they said, someday I'm going to get one. For some people, it was maybe when they were little, they saw the '63 Corvette, or some maybe it was the '84 4th gen. But for a lot of people, it's going to be, a lot of the younger people I talk to, teenagers, they love this car. This is going to be the new car. So we have on display, you can see in our tent, we have on the 3 trim levels, 1, 2, and 3, and you can see the differences in those. We have really tried to make this car your dream car, so there's a lot of ways to personalize it. We have 12 exterior colors. We have 6 interior colors, but it's really about 9 different types of interiors you can get. 4 different wheels and 2 different designs from the factory. Lots of accessories, including things like carbon fiber ground effects, high wings, things like that as well. We have brake colors. We have now seatbelt colors, stitching colors. You can really personalize it. We've also added some new features new to Corvette that we haven't had. Things that people will appreciate. And one of the things reason why we bring such a big team here to Carlisle is talking to all of you. You're a big part of this car as well, so we take suggestions and input, and a lot of this car is from that. So we have things like rear park assist, side blind zone, rear cross traffic alerts. And we always were wondering, and we talk to people, are people worried about safety? No, people are worried about anything happening to the car. Nobody wants anything to happen to their baby, so we want to make sure that's safe. We also have this new rear camera mirror. You can see the camera up top. And then it transforms your rear view mirror into a video display, so you have no blind spots looking out the rear. We also have, for the first time, we have things like heated steering wheel, power fold mirrors for getting it out. Taj mentioned the front lift system that we have as an option, which has 1,000 points of memory, so you can save your positions where you want to go. And we even have memory seats on both sides now, so both driver and passenger. You know, you just get in the car and you get that, who moved my seat? I'll just push the button and it goes right back. So a lot of ways to personalize the car, including this car, which has a Z51 performance package as well. And roof packages, we have the carbon fiber roof shown here. We also have the transparent roof, the solid roof. The roofs are very lightweight, about 15 pounds, so you can lift it and easily store it in the back. So I'd like to bring up Josh here to talk a little bit more about the engineering behind Z51 and the rest of the car as well.
Actually, I'm going to step in before Josh gets a chance. And to be perfectly honest, we're making this up on the fly. So you saw me talking to Josh, we're trying to figure out what we want to talk about, because we know a lot of people have paid attention to the reveal. There's a lot of stuff that's out there. In fact, I'm curious how many people actually have watched the reveal online. So some of you. Some of you have seen it. And we've gotten a lot of media coverage. So, you know, the story of the car is out there, but it's amazing being out in the real world with these cars, because even though it feels like everybody knows about it, there's still tons of people who haven't seen one, don't know the story. We have a lot of cars running around with no emblems on them, and so to them it's a mystery. What is this thing? Some people guess, yeah, it's a Corvette. Other people think it's some other exotic car. But this is a really fun time in the program for us when we finally get to take the camo off, go out and experience the car in real traffic, in the real world. So we're happy to be able to actually drive here to Carlisle to show you everything. So I'm going to let Josh talk a little bit more about the driving experience. But one thing I didn't talk about when I first started was talk about the engine, the driveline. So we mentioned at the reveal, the whole world is moving to charged engines. So small displacement, turbo engines, pretty much around the world. And in talking to customers, a lot of times we'll take questions and answers, and somebody will say, "You're never going to put a 4-cylinder in this, are you?" And we always ask it right back, "How many people want a 4-cylinder?" And we get boos, and every boos is out of the venue. So we know that people love the small block V8, and we love it too from an engineering standpoint. It's very compact, it's very light, it's very efficient, and we've been refining it for almost 60 years. So actually more than that, but it's an incredible powertrain. And one thing that we didn't talk about a lot is actually putting it in this architecture helps it create more power. And so you might think, oh, the engine, it's the engine, what difference does it make if it's in the front or the back? But when you have the engine in the front and you're trying to cool the car, you typically have very large radiators that take up the center portion of the front of the car. And what that does is we have the throttle body on the front, and it has to breathe cool air from somewhere. So you have two choices. You can put a skinny little snorkel over the top. We've done both of these on Corvette. A skinny little snorkel over the top to reach out to cool air forward of the radiator condenser, or you can take a left or right turn and come out around the tail end. Either way, it's quite a restricted passage, and so the inlet restriction is inherently higher in the front because of all the tight packaging. In the back, we're able to actually use some of the extra space. The rear wheels don't turn, and so the width of the car and the package of the engine actually let us do very efficient plumbing for both intake and exhaust. So the intake is really cool because the throttle is now on the back of the engine. It breathes through a big air box with kind of an old school, big oval air filter, and a lot of surface area all the way around. And then it's plumbed both ways, outboard, and actually through the body structure, the composite body structure. And there's big openings, like this big, that it's breathing through, and it comes right around and breathes through the top portion of this outlet on the quarter panel. The top third of this feeds right into the engine, one on one side, one on the other side. So you're essentially feeding banks of 4 on either side. So it's extremely efficient, low restriction. And then on the exhaust side, when the engine's in the front, and then when we put the engine in the front, we have to push it right up against the front of dash. So it's very tight up against that. So the block is right up against the body structure. So when the exhaust manifold comes out, we have a pinch point as it tries to get around the back of the engine and down the center tunnel to the back of the car. That pinch point creates restriction. Here, we have no such thing. We have headers that come off the engine, straight up, over the axle, and then they go down under our luggage compartment, out the car, no restriction at all. So because the car has lower intake restriction, lower exhaust restriction, we can make more power and take advantage of that by putting a freer breathing cam in it. And so that engine pulls across a broader range, right up to redline. And so it pulls hard through each gear. So this car, with its weight distribution, hammers off the line. It launches like crazy and then pulls really hard through the gearing that we have in the DCT, which it's an ACT DCT, and so we have a very low first gear. So we take advantage of all this traction, get the car moving. That's why we're able to say that we know 0 to 60 is going to be under 3 seconds flat, and that is a huge milestone. That DCT lets us keep power to the wheels through every shift, which is also very nice. We also can tailor the shift such that if we want to use the engine's inertia to make the car move forward a bit faster, we can slam those clutches and give you a shove in the back with each gear change. And you have the full engine torque plus that inertia helping propel the car forward. That's another reason the car accelerates so quickly off the line. So we're really proud of the driveline, and it really integrates well into the architecture, and it gives you an amazing driving experience. So I want to bring up Josh to talk a little bit. He spent as much time as anybody in these cars, so I wanted him to give you a little bit of perspective.
Thanks, Taj. I just want to reflect a little bit. I get to do my dream job. I was in junior high, I think, when I decided that I wanted to come and work on Corvette, specifically be a Corvette engineer. And to be a part of this hardworking, talented team that brought this, we're standing around history. This is historic for Corvette, and to be a part of this team, to get to work on this car at this time is something really special. we've talked a lot about the stuff you can see on the car. This Harlan mentioned a little bit. This is the Z51 package. This is our performance package. A lot of you are used to. It comes with a front splitter and the rear spoiler that you can see. Larger G55 brake system. The PS4 performance tires. Electronic limited slip differential. An extra radiator in the back of the car, so we've got added bulk cooling capacity to the car that Ted talked a little bit about. And you get all that for the bargain price of $5,000. So another example of tremendous value. Getting to drive this car, and I can't wait till more people get to do that. Where you're sitting in the car, your feet are literally on the front tire. And the command view down the road is like nothing those of us that have Corvettes are used to. You're not looking over a long hood. You're looking at the road. You can see everything in front of you. When you're driving the car, especially driving the car hard, you want to place it in the corner, you know exactly where the car is. Because of the weight distribution of our mid-engine architecture, about 60% of the weight on the back, the center of gravity is moved rearward. And it now is right about where you're sitting, right in the middle of the seat. So the car literally rotates around it. When you're exiting a corner, you can plant power like none of us are used to. We're used to being very careful with high horsepower cars. This car puts power to the road like nothing we've ever experienced. It's just an amazing car to drive. I can't wait till more people get to experience it. Another thing that we didn't talk about today that's a very cool new technology for us is the front lift system. So available with the E60 option is a hydraulic lift system that will pick the front of the car up about 2 inches. When you activate a button to lift the car up, the system will ask you if you want to remember that position. Say you're going into your driveway. If you do, you can acknowledge it. And the next time you encounter that obstacle, it'll remember and lift the car for you. You guys have more you want to cover? There's so much to talk about on this car. Like we've all said, we can go on and on and on and on. But I'll let Harlan go back. Thanks. Thanks, Josh.
I do want to touch on some of the questions we get. So I know a lot of you guys are, ladies and gentlemen here, are ordering or configuring or getting on. So I want to tell you to get on Chevrolet.com. If you haven't done it yet, go to the visualizer. I think we counted, there was like over 1 million people have created about 1 million different potential Corvettes on the visualizer already, so you can really get in there. One of the questions, one of the new things we did is with the seats. We actually have 3 different types of seat configurations now. We have a GT1 seat, as we call it, which is our standard seat, which is a great all-around seat for both comfort and support. And then we have 2 ways you can option up. Both have carbon fiber inserts, and you can go 2 ways. If you're hardcore track oriented, you want the ultimate in support, go for the competition sport. If you're using the car more as an all-around car, both road, street, and track, you can go to the GT2 seat, which gives you a lot of the features of the competition, but maintains all the comfort for long-distance driving that you have with the GT1. Another thing we've done, this car deserved an all-new audio system. So we're the first Bose Performance Series branded system in a sports car. So it actually has 14 speakers, which is a lot for a 2-seater car as well. So it's a great sound system. We also done in the interior, we have a 12-inch cluster that's reconfigurable. And you can actually program what gauges you'd like to be displayed on the left side. And on the right side, there's a lot of different functions, from a trip computer to audio to performance, like 0 to 60 times, lap times, things like that. And then we have a center screen that's 8 inches for your navigation, audio, all your regular functions as well. And we made the steering wheel flat on top and flat on the bottom in order that you get the great view of that from the road. And then on the steering wheel, we have much larger paddles because I want people to know that, yes, we do have a manual Corvette. It is this kind of manual, not this kind of manual. But we do have a manual Corvette, and it's very fun to drive, just not as much work. So it shifts very quick, under like 100 milliseconds, about a tenth of a second to shift. And it's very engaging. You can also activate the clutch, but instead of using your foot, you can hold both paddles in to declutch the car. So you have a lot of control, or you can put it in drive, a lot of traffic on a long trip, and drive it the way we want. We've also expanded our driver modes. We pioneered that with the 7th generation Corvette. We now have what we call the Z mode. So if you look in the cars, you see that big Z button. What you can do there is you can make your ideal configuration. So you can control steering, throttle, progression. We even have brakes now, how the exhaust sounds, powertrain, transmission shifting. You can pick your ideal combination, program that, and all you have to do is start the car, you hit the Z button, and you have that ready to go. We're going to have it programmed from the factory with a combination of sport and track modes, which we just thought were a lot of fun, really brings out the character of the car. So anytime you're on a fun road, you can just hit that Z button and enjoy it. So there's so much detail in this car to go over. We tried to put a lot of thought into it for everybody, and I just can't wait for all of you to experience it for yourselves.
Thanks, Harlan. Harlan mentioned the paddles. Those are made of magnesium. And if you look around the whole car, it's a mosaic of different materials. Even on the interior, there's a lot of premium materials in the interior. We use brushed aluminum, so real metal. We actually even have stainless steel. It's the first time we've used stainless steel for the speaker covers, brushed stainless steel, because it's stiffer, and we can make the holes tiny, and it still transmits the noise, but still is stiff to the touch. All around the interior, there's very premium materials. There's virtually no painted plastic. Everything's wrapped in premium materials. And as Harlan was talking about, there's a lot of choices, including this car has a carbon fiber roof. That's an option. If you like carbon fiber, we have a lot of ways you can get carbon fiber. You can replace some of the aluminum pieces on the interior with real carbon parts, so not a part over the aluminum, but a separate part that's really made of carbon fiber. And then we have engine compartment kit, and this car has it. You can look at it afterwards, where we surround the engine in carbon closeout panels, and it comes with lighting, so that every time the lights come on the exterior of the car, you open the hatch, the engine compartment is illuminated in addition to the luggage compartment. It's a really cool effect. It highlights the engine, looks beautiful. So, like we were saying, you can just go on and on and on about all the details around this car. We haven't revealed everything. We certainly haven't revealed all the performance specifications. In fact, we haven't even let any journalist drive the car. Somebody will say, "Oh, I saw Leno, he was driving it." That was indoors on speed restricted, tooling around basically just off idle. So we haven't let any journalists really drive it yet, and so that'll come this fall. So all the attention we're getting right now is based on the reveal activities, what the car looks like, the specs we've put out there. But this fall, we'll start getting people in the car for driving impressions, and you'll see another round of media actual perception of what the car is like. So we've given you a highlight here. I want to repeat that we have our tent over there with 30-some Corvette experts, all wearing black shirts today, like we're wearing. They can help answer your question. We have the rolling chassis, we call it, so that's a car that's been stripped down partially, so you can see all the hardware that's under the skin. It's really cool. Engineers love it. And people interested in the technology, that's really fun to look at. And then a bunch of cars we have parked under there. So please stop by. It's fairly crowded, but we'll make time to talk to everybody, and we will hang around if you guys have any questions. It's really not practical to take questions in this large of a format, but we'll hang out for a couple minutes if you guys want to ask us specific questions about this car or what's going on. So thanks very much for listening. Thanks, Harlan and Josh.